Ready to roll, ready to roll, ready to roll. All the boys are here today. Another collaboration with our friends over at Breaking Bats, joining the Colin Thompson show. That's Jack Connell. You guys know him. You love him. Sometimes you make fun of him on social media. He is now joined. We are now joined by, we'll start by introducing the great Justin Ayers. Justin Ayers, how you doing today, buddy?
It's great to be back. A lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of news, and we have our own Jack Schefter with us, so he'll break it all down.
Jack Schefter in the building. Before on air, Jack, jumped up. We've had Jake Martin on the podcast, and Jack's like, Jake Martin got traded. I'm like, great. You got to say to where. You got to say to where. Just like Jack orders steak on his burrito, and that is it. And Chipotle, just like Jack rates public transportation as walking number one. I miss those days. We got to bring the rankings back just for those reasons, Jack. You're the man, Jack. How you doing today, Jackie?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Just a day full of editing, working hard, another day in the office. So living the dream. It's been going good.
You are working with the Ross Tucker pod. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I've been helping fill in for our producer, Brian, and certain episodes I've been helping produce. I produced my first episode yesterday morning for Ross, and I've just been helping out, editing and taking over some of that process for there. So it's been great. Got number one fan barking in the back there for me, but
maybe barking because the Eagles made a 100th trade this season. They are ready to make another trade and continue their dominance in the NFL. Jack, congrats to you, man, with everything you got going on at Ross. I'm a big fan of Ross. He's done a lot of awesome things as a player, as a media member, calls games. So someone I look up to in the business. Congrats to you. And then the great Brian O'Grady, former Major League Baseball player, played overseas this year, host of Breaking Bats. How you doing, Brian?
Good, man. Thanks for having me back. Just hanging out. And Jack, steak only on a burrito is pretty wild. I don't think that's a burrito. I didn't hear that story, but it's good to be here.
I'll say my little piece about it. I go double meat, double cheese, and there was no chicken, there was no cheese, and there was no queso. So I was just screwed. I was like, all right, I'll just take my loss. They didn't even have when they ate chips. They didn't have queso for my chips. So it was. I mean, I don't know what else to expect from a Spartanburg Chipotle, but that was what I was left with.
Brian, we were down at training camp. Justin and Jack, blessed to have them come down and create some awesome content. And the first night, I'm like, guys, I don't have a ton of time, but we can get a bite to eat. So we go to Chipotle. We were already starting to poke fun at Jack here along the way, Justin and I, just because Jack's being Jack. And he just goes up, and he's like, do you have this? Nope. Do you have this? Nope. Okay, I'm just going to do steak. And the person looked at him like he had four heads, rolled the burrito up, and it's literally just like a ball at the bottom. And I was just like, what? It was not a good sight. It was not. It looked like a bag of sugar. It was like, what is this? So that's where the Chipotle Jack came from. I digress. Let's get to the Halloween talk. Brian, you're the only one, who knows, Justin and Jack, I can't answer for you guys. I don't have a child. I think you guys don't have a child. Who knows?
None that I know about.
Yeah, none that you know about. Brian has a child, a newborn, and it was a big Halloween at the O'Grady household, no?
Yeah, it was fun, man. I mean, she'll be 6 months on November 11th, so she's still a baby, so she can't walk around and do candy and all that yet. But we did. My wife dressed her up as a flamingo. It was very cute. She didn't love it, but it was. We got some good pictures out of it, and we went to my wife's cousin's house, dude. It was this was the funny part. Was like they're all a little bit older than me. So them and all their friends, like kids, tons. So this was my first time going somewhere and having my own kid, and they're just being like 15 other kids there. It was nuts, just pure mayhem going on. But it was fun. Just hung out for a little while and then came back home and gave some candy out, and that was it. But it was cool. I'm looking forward to probably next year, the next couple years, when she can do more instead of just be carried around.
When I was a kid, Halloween, I remember my dad would have like a cart, behind him, and he'd be wheeling it around, and I never thought about it, right? In the front of the cart, I would sit in the back, but the front of the cart was just loaded with cold beers. Any cold beers for Dad last night? Did you have any, Bri?
No, I did not. Listen, I have gotten so soft in my old age. It is absolutely ridiculous. I had a lot of fun back in the day with beers and such, but you know, I don't very often anymore. And we were at this event for this foundation down here. It's pretty well known. Quint Studers. It owns the Blue Wahoos, which is how I basically ended up down here. But a great guy and does a ton of stuff for the community here. We were at one of his events, and it was like your typical little open bar set up, and me and my wife just got a cup of red wine. And I don't even know if that's an actual glass or not. It might be less. I had that, and the next morning I woke up to go to the gym like I do at 6:30 is usually when I get up. And I wasn't hungover, but I felt the difference. Like I was not normal. And I was just sitting there like, this is what my life has come to. I had a cup of wine last night and I don't feel normal.
Yep. That's a little bit different than the 2 gallons of beer back in college. Yeah. Or whatever else. You said drinks and stuff. We don't need to talk about what and stuff was. Everything is excellent. Justin, how was your Halloween in beautiful Annapolis, Maryland? Anything funky going on at home?
So right off the bat, Halloween is a bottom tier holiday for me. I don't like it. I've never really dressed up. I guess I've never really had the opportunity to dress up, which might play into the fact why it's a bottom tier holiday. Look, it's cool. You get to see all the cool Instagram photos. I saw all the really cool parents dressing. Like my friend dressed his son up as a shark and did like a shark attack theme with him and his wife. And it's cool. You get to see that stuff. But no, I just went out in regular clothes and had a great time. But no, I did not dress up. I didn't put on any gimmicky outfits. So yeah, bottom tier.
Okay, bottom tier, since Breaking Bats is notorious and very good at rating things, and I am unorganized and not great at rating things. Can you rate your holidays right now for us, Jack? I mean, Justin.
I'm a big 4th of July fan. That goes back to the drinking. We'll have to save the slap in the bag stuff for later, although we probably can't invite Brian for that because he'll probably tap out.
He won't be able to lift the next morning.
Yeah, it'll just mess that up. I like 4th of July. I like Christmas. Thanksgiving. I think I would put that above. I don't know. I think Halloween, especially like depending on the day of the week it falls, it just really messes up the holiday. Like a middle of the week, do you do it the week before? You do it the week after? I don't know. I don't like those kind of holidays, but yeah, it's just not great.
Jack, what did you dress up as last night? You said you had some little event, bud.
I was forced into dressing up as Fred from Scooby-Doo for all of 10 minutes, and I quickly took that off. I hate costumes. I was forced into it as a kid. I hated Halloween. My go-to costume. I was the cheap. I was like, I'm a football player. I just put on a jersey and I call it.
Oh
no!
I can't do costumes like the fancy ones with makeup, anything. No, I can't. It's just, they look cool. Like I'm a J. Like, they look cool. Like I have nothing against them. It's just I've never been a costume person.
Bottom tier. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, bottom tier.
Colin, these guys are, not married and they're out here trashing Halloween. It's unbelievable.
Listen, if you're not married, you should be out on Halloween having stuff at night, right? Like you should be out. That's all I'm going to say, but you should be out having a great time. I am married. My wife and I had a wonderful time at the Bozemans, like I talked about last week. Go to my bio on Twitter and Instagram. The Bozemans Foundation's unbelievable, and they raised over $40,000 for their charity down in Carolina at Fahrenheit, an awesome steakhouse here. And I was Tony Soprano. We talked about it last week. First time I shaved my face, Bry, since the days of Archbishop Wood. I mean,
dude, I saw that. First of all, you looked great. You guys looked awesome. But I was cracking up because I was like, holy shit, Colin shaved. And then I realized it was for the costume. But yeah, man, that was good for you. That looked like a good time.
It was a good time, man. All out. I had to do it. It was fantastic. Gillette sponsorship. I will only shave if you join us, Gillette, but I will never shave again. I've had more shit talk. I've been told I look ridiculous. I've had every nickname that you can imagine named. So it's okay. I've taken it on the chin. I'm okay. Thank God it is growing back and it is coming in strong. I'm looking at myself again. But I'm all about Halloween. Listen, I should say this. I'm all about Halloween because of my situation and where I'm at. And we had a party. So if we didn't have a party or anything, I didn't even know it was Halloween last night. I was like texting Brian to come on the show. We were going to do it yesterday. And Brian's like, dude, I have to go out for Halloween. I'm like, damn it, I forgot. So
I totally forgot. I called. I was like, yeah, we should be good. Let me just make sure my wife did it. And then she's like, we have Halloween. I was like, oh shit, it's Halloween.
And when you text me that, I'm like, oh wow, it is Halloween. Holy shit. I digress. I'm glad everyone had a good Halloween out there. Hope everyone was safe and had a great time. Again, appreciate everyone's support of us here at Not For Long Media, Colin Thompson Show, and Breaking Bats. we've had a lot of great shows here, but it's been a pleasure working with Brian and Justin and their team at Breaking Bats, just absolutely killing it. It is the World Series. We're going to get into all that in a second, but I want to wish my buddy George, great friend, top supporter of this show. Justin's met him. A happy birthday. He is born November 1st. He's been a great friend. He's been a brother, part of my wedding. He's been a best friend, so he's a diehard listener. We got to wish George a happy birthday. I'm going to send George a box of fudge from our friends over at the Original Fudge Kitchen, fudgekitchens.com, shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country. Like I've said a million times on the show, I've been there when they package it. They're making it fresh. They're twirling it. It rests for about an hour or a couple hours, and then boom, goes right into USPS, and it's on the way. I've seen it. I've delivered it to USPS myself. It's pretty cool. I love what they got going on there. And now at the holidays, they have all the pumpkin fudge and all the fall flavors. So they always rotate new things that are in that are all fresh and delicious. Absolutely love what they got going on there at Fudge Kitchen. So I'm going to send George a box of fudge. It's his birthday. Why not? Fudgekitchens.com. Easy shipping, easily handling. Happy birthday, George. We appreciate you, brother. So, okay, lots to discuss. Guys, we had a rain delay, and then we had a cancellation, I should say, of the Phillies-Astros series. Series is tied 1-1. Phillies go down 5-0 in the first game and just come absolutely marching back. And just, I'm going nuts in the house. It was one of the most impressive comebacks, I think, in any sport I can ever remember. If it was at home, the place would have been crazy in Philly, but it was in Houston, and it was such a good sight to see, especially my in-laws are all Houston Astros fans. So that was really, really fun, and the banter was really, really good. And then the Phillies come out next week. The next game after they, JT Realmuto pretty much hits a walk-off home run in the top of the 10th inning to make it 6-5. Next game, not what they wanted it to be. It did not look pretty. Wheeler didn't show up. Really Nola didn't show up either the way they usually do. I'll kick it to Bri first. Reaction from the first two games.
The first game was amazing. I mean, I'm sitting here watching it, and obviously right away the Astros, Kyle Tucker, the homers. I'm like, shit, man, this is not looking good. And the place was going nuts. Tucker's pimping these balls. Like, it was just this whole show. I'm like, this is bad. So for the Phillies to respond the way they did was amazing. I'm in my living room. My wife had went to bed, and I was like, yeah, I'll be in there in a minute, because I'm like, this is going to be a blowout. Then that comeback happens, and I'm standing there like watching this, ready to shut off the lights and like do all this stuff. And I was just stood there for, I don't know, half hour watching the Phillies come back. And I'm like, this isn't ending, but I was loving every second of it. I mean, all the hits, Bohm, Castellano. I mean, it was just so cool to see responding like that. And I think Smoltz actually said it in the moment. It was like the Phillies needed something. They needed to put up a run or two just to keep this game going. And otherwise it probably would have been a blowout. And there they were, and they, got basically all of it back. But, man, what a comeback. What a response in Houston like that with Verlander on the mound, which was me and Justin had talked about his for as great as a pitcher as he is, has struggled in the World Series, which is, I mean, I don't think it's nerves. I think it's just bad timing. I don't know. It's crazy. But, to come back and win that game, Houston needed game two, right? They needed game two. That was basically do or die for them going into 3 games in Philly. So not surprised they won that. And Framber Valdez is possibly the best pitcher nobody really knows about, I would think, you casual fans in the MLB. So Phillies did what they were supposed to do. They got one, go back to Philly for 3. So they got a shot.
Justin, I'm going to slide it over to you here. You're pretty dialed in on social media stuff. You've been dialed in on when the Houston kind of cheating scandal happened, and Brian can attest. A lot of people in pro baseball, I don't call it cheating, but people are doing a lot of different things. I'm going to kick it back to Brian for this, though, because I want to ask. You see some of the videos of the pitchers from Houston and especially the guy that pitched the second game that Brian just talked about. What are your thoughts on all that stuff? Is there cheating? Is there foul play involved?
It's not. Sorry, I don't. I'll start. Sorry, Jay.
No, go. That's bad by me.
I don't know, but I will say it didn't look good from the stuff on social media. I will absolutely say that. It did not look good. Guys, they use sweat and stuff to get a better grip on the ball, which is totally legal. But the clips on social media definitely did not look good, and they checked them all the time now coming off. But I forget what video where it was. I saw it was his right hand that was where he kept going. And when he's coming off the field, they checked his left hand. And he wiped. I think that showed that I saw another one of him wiping his right hand or something. I don't know. It's the Astros. People are definitely still kind of out looking for that stuff. And then the thing with Martin Maldonado's bat, which is whatever, but it's not a good look. I don't think he's cheating. Not a good look though. Why is
the bat whatever, Brian? And just bring us into the baseball world a little bit.
So the bat, I didn't know about this. And I don't know if Jay knew about this. A little bit. Maldonado, and he can tell us. Maldonado was using an Albert Pujols bat that Pujols gave him that is now illegal, which for the reason I'm not exactly sure why. I know they put it out there. I didn't see it. But it's now illegal, and Pujols was only allowed to use it because he was grandfathered in. He's been using it forever. So this was banned starting in 2010. So during Game 2, they announced that on Fox. No punishment or anything like that. I think Maldonado had a hit in that first game that was the most seeing eye single, he barely tapped it, and it just was perfect placement. So it's just again gives people that more, they're cheating, they're doing that. It just adds to it, So did it really have an impact? Probably not. Maldonado's a defensive catcher and a great one. He's not known for killing the ball, but it's the same thing. It's just more adding on to the cheater theory already.
No doubt about it. Sorry about the question there. It was poorly timed by me, Jay. I'll send it back to Jay. Jay, moving forward, tied 1-1. It swings back. The next 3 games are in Philly. Obviously, last night the game got canceled. I was trying to go to that game too. I was going to see if I could make that work. I had tickets. I was going to fly up and fly back in the morning, but luckily I did not. Wasn't the best move, especially in season. It's really tough to do, but it's a World Series. I'm going to try to swing it. How do you think it's going to go here moving forward, Jay, especially these next 3 games in Philly?
So I still like the Astros in this series, but I think this rain out really helped the Phillies more so than I think it helped the Astros. Because the way that their rotation is set up, the way it was supposed to be before the rain out is you'd have a Syndergaard go a third of a game and then the bullpen 2/3 of a game. And Syndergaard's, he's been okay. He hasn't been great. But now you get to start Ranger Suarez, who has a sub-2 ERA in the playoffs. You feel a little bit more confident if you're Rob Thompson and the Phillies. And then you could have Nola in Game 4 as opposed to shifting it around like that. But this is interesting because if the Phillies lose these first 2 games at home, Game 5, what do we do? Do we put Zach Wheeler out there? Rob Thompson said he wants an extra day of rest. But you have to think if they're facing elimination, they can't not have their guy Wheeler out there on the mound for them. Although I will say this, Wheeler's velocity is down a lot. Can't give up 5 runs. The Astros are swinging first pitch or first couple pitches of every at-bat. Beat that guy up. So I'm paying closer attention to the pitching matchups and how this all could turn out that way.
That's a great point. I think the home field advantage, too, is absolutely huge in Philly. And I was explaining to my in-laws the other day via text, my sister-in-law sent me a video of, they were at the game. There's no crazier ballpark than this right now. And I was just like, I get it. I understand it. It's indoor. It's loud. It's great fans. But I'm like, it's a cheese and wine crowd compared to Philly. It's just fact. Philly, there's a video that came out of some guy today talking about how he's okay with losing his family members, if the Phillies win the World Series. It's just a different crowd. People are coming. It's just I try to explain it to people. It's just a different crowd. Brian, can you attest to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Philly's just a different place, dude. You're absolutely right. The indoor will give Houston some loudness there, but man, there's nothing like those games in Philly. Whatever it is, they're just people are nuts. That's I don't, we're biased because we're from the area, right? So.
But we've been elsewhere, though. That's what I always say to people. I'm like, guys, I've been elsewhere. Okay, I'm a Phillies fan, but I travel everywhere. I'm a Houston fan because my wife's from Houston. I've been around. So I don't know. There's nothing like it. Look at some teams go play the Eagles in the playoffs. They can't function.
Yeah, I just don't. I feel like Philly takes sports more seriously than every other city. I really do.
100%. I think that's fact. And they have great teams and they're all in, and there's a pressure to be good there. like crazy. Like all 4 teams have to be good. It's like people are ready to jump off the ship about the Flyers. They're like 5-2, right? There's like crazy pressure for these huge trades, and like there's an expectation of that excellence. I'll kick it to Jack, our Philly resident, our only Philly resident right here. What's the vibe in old, Bucks County, Montgomery County, the old suburbs of Philadelphia, Jackie?
So many sheltered bandwagon fans since like 2010, myself included, have come out of hiding in the last few weeks. It's sort of like, oh, cool, Phillies are going to watch the wild card games. Oh, they're in divisional, making a playoff push. They're like, oh, this team's winning it, dancing on my own. Like, we're going to win the whole thing. I mean, every Modell, there's no Modells anymore, but every Dick's Sporting Goods, Rally House, everything has had lines out the door for like the week following them winning the NLCS to buy gear. Everybody's wearing their stuff everywhere. It's definitely been electric. It's all anybody can talk about. I mean, usually this place is talking about the Eagles no matter what, but this is one of the few instances where something actually trumps the Eagles out here.
It really does. My mom has retail stores in Cape May, and she's saying like droves of people are coming, almost like COVID, like where they're shopping to get away from their town to go to Cape May for the night or two, or they live down there. Like there's always, the stores do well in the fall, but like this is a different vibe. It's like men, women, children are all Phillies, right? It's something unique, kind of everyone relates to because either their dad was a fan. This is what I sent to my sister-in-law yesterday in the family group text with the in-laws. I said, that's a cheese and wine crowd. Good people dressed up, really nice, cheering their hearts out. Polo shirts tucked in, white collar. The indoor helps. And then I said about Philly, I said, Philly is a little bit more, how do I say that's full of debauchery, I guess, is how I would say. You throw batteries at Santa and Philly. People can just be jackasses at times. Blue collar, both loud praises, but just a different vibe. Justin, what's the vibe in Washington? Because, right, they've had some good years. They really have. They had a down year this year, but they have some high-end players. They trade Soto. But, what's the vibe in there? New kind of franchise, the DC. Is there like any like true DC fans? What was it like during the World Series run? Give me the vibe.
I think the casual people aren't necessarily gravitating towards the Nationals at this point. Even with the World Series run, I still felt like this is more of a Capitals town that people would be more apt to go watch and follow. The Commanders are just a debacle. I don't even know. Like, I don't think there's a lot of people right now who are comfortably going around town screaming, "Go Commanders," left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders. We don't see a lot of that. But I think, I don't know. I think it's easier for people to get into the Capitals. They've just been consistently good. The Wizards, I don't think anybody really follows them. But yeah, I think the Nationals, it's gonna be tough. You're looking at 3 to 5 years until they're good again. So it's, go Caps, go.
Go Caps, go, baby. Ovi on his last leg out there. He's going to be playing until he gets that title. That guy's unreal. Listen, guys, the Phillies and everything we talk about here at the Colin Thompson Show, the Astros, it's all brought to you by Wealth Advisory Services. WealthAdvisoryServices.com. Check them out. I've been fortunate to work with them, managing my wealth. Small, medium, large. They know how to handle it all, guys. I've been working with them for a long time, directing me in the right place, the right time, how to handle it from Doylestown all the way down to Cape May, New Jersey, meetings for lunch, conversations, just picking their brain on how to invest the money, what to do with the money, how to pull it out of the market, when to put it back into the market, 401k planning. They work with businesses. They work with people literally across the country. I've been so fortunate to work with them, and they've been an awesome sponsor here of Not For Long Media and the Colin Thompson Show. WealthAdvisoryServices.com, Paul and their team, 100 years of experience. Again, reach out to them through us, reach out to them through their website, let them know we sent you. Paul and Dave are just tremendous people that know how to navigate any really market, which has been a really tough one right now for those at home keeping score. Okay, I digress. There's a lot to talk about here, guys. Obviously, the different series. Justin has Houston continuing to win. I know Brian took the Phillies early on. Brian, does that change with how it started, or you still think the Phillies can pull it off here with these 3 games at home?
Yeah, I took the Phillies in 7 when we did it. So that would obviously mean them going to Houston and winning the last game. But I would love to see them finish it off in Philly. I definitely think they need to win 2 in Philly. If they lose 2 of those 3 in Philly, I think JA is probably on the better track there. But I think they take 2 and then it goes back, and then we have the showdown game 7. Phillies can take it. But if I'm them, I'm feeling pretty good. Like I said before, they had a huge comeback to win game 1. And you got to expect the Astros to come out swinging big time that game 2 with basically this, the World Series on the line. and they won it. So I'm feeling good if I'm the Phillies.
Justin, from a viewership standpoint, what do you think about going every other game in the World Series, like every other day, expanding it, spreading it out? Now, I know there's talk it's taking too long and they're playing baseball now in like mid-November, but if I'm the MLB, I've already complained enough on here about their scheduling and their timing. But how can you make this playoff better, expanded more? Like they've already done it with adding wildcard teams, but what do you think? I made a suggestion of having a game every other day.
I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind them not having. Wasn't there like a giant gap in between the LCS and the World Series? Wasn't there an entire week where we're just sitting there waiting for baseball? Probably could look into that. They're talking about on MLB Network this morning. What if we just mess around? Let's get weird. What if we just have like the COVID year and have like a destination World Series, neutral site? Go to San Diego for the entire series. Make it like the Super Bowl and do Colin's thing every other day. But I don't know. We're just spitballing here, guys.
Spitballing. I love it. No, I love it. I just love the home field advantage of baseball. There's nothing like playoffs baseball. Like I'm down here in Carolina. I'm in the middle of the season. It's our off day, and I'm trying to find a way to navigate up there and navigate back, without getting a private jet because can't afford that. So I was going to try to talk to DJ Moore because maybe he can. I was like, DJ, he's a Philly guy. I'm like, what do you think, DJ? He's like, I'm like, I'll pay the fuel. He's like, the fuel's like $10,000. I don't think you can swing that. I said, I cannot. You are correct. So I appreciate that, DJ Moore. I transitioned to rain delays, cancellations, the game being canceled this week, brought to you by Amiche, the best food, Italian food, period, homegrown, mom and pop. It's right near us in the lake. 20, 30 minutes from downtown, depending on where you're at. We go there. We're going there for night to dinner. It's Monday. It's the Tuesday and Friday tradition here in the Thompson household. We go there as much as we can. We absolutely love it. Nick, the owner, is fantastic. The food is fresh, from the meatballs to the Utica greens to the chicken parm. Check them out. Amiche, located off of Lake Norman, the best Italian food in all of the Charlotte area. So the game got canceled this week. Brian, you're a baseball guy. You've had to kill a lot of time during these rain delays over your career, over playing in freaking Milwaukee, and then the next day you're at a AA game playing in Trenton. What are you doing to kill time, knowing that, hey, the game may come back, but when you got to be 2 hours of sitting here in the dugout?
It's not easy, man. It actually sucks, if we're being totally honest. Like, for the most part, if you start a game, especially in the minor leagues, you start a game and it starts raining, you'll hear everybody yelling, "Bang it!" to the grounds crew, just cancel it. Let's just go home, because nobody really feels like doing that. In the major leagues, a little different, because for the most part, they're trying to play those games. The schedule's a little more demanding, all those stuff. Obviously, the World Series is even a different animal than that. But a lot of cards being played, going back, a lot of checking the weather radar on your phone. Everyone's trying to be the meteorologist in there and figure out if we're playing or not. But World Series, man, that would suck. Obviously, you want to play. You're fired up to get this game going. So for that to happen, I feel for both those teams. But, again, helps the pitching. And, it is what it is. You got to roll with it.
I love it. I love it. Excuse me. Voice crack there. Jackie in the backy. What do you got going on, buddy? What are you doing during the rain delay? How are you killing time? Not scrolling your phone, killing Twitter. I don't want to hear that, Jack. Not tweeting for not for long media like you do so well sometimes. What are you doing to kill time, Jack?
I never really had a rain delay for a game or lightning for one. We had practice delays, and one of the big things we did in practice, we do like a bunch of skits. It's like pass the time. Like we would just like make fun of each other, do like skits, like making fun of the coaches, like teammates, all that sort of stuff. So that was when it was fun. It was like when you're sitting there bullshitting with your teammates and all that other sort of stuff, just trying to kill time before a game. So that's probably something that I would do during a rain delay.
How about you, Justin?
If I was like a hypothetical like player during one of these, the Guardians had a cool thing where they're throwing the football around outside. At Yankee Stadium, that one game where everybody was like, why are we canceling this? It's a light drizzle. They were just tossing the pigskin around. I thought that would be a cool idea. The Orioles back in the day used to go tarp sliding. I think I would just, if I'm looking at it, it's gonna be a close to a rain out, just like 3 or 4 hours to kill. Just get weird. I don't know. Just slide around.
Yeah, if I was in Baltimore, I'd probably walk right out the back door and go right to one of those little dive bars right behind the stadium. I'd probably go right there. Baseball, maybe if you're a pitcher and you're not pitching for the next 3 or 4 days, I'd probably go right there. Brian, I'm sure there's a tunnel, Brian, between Citizens Bank Park and Xfinity Live. You probably can walk right underneath there, have a good time.
Sure,
the Phillies have been doing it. Brian will not be doing that anymore, folks. He is officially retired. And hopefully when maybe his daughter gets a little older and he's done playing, maybe he'll pick up his rowdy side again. We'll see if he can do that. We'll transition because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. MLB, we got the NFL coming up next. All NFL talk, guys, is brought to you by GEEK. Promo code Colin Thompson, COLINTHOMPSON. $20 off a purchase of your tickets over $50. All tickets are over $50 now, folks. You know how that goes. Going to a game, think of us. Going to a concert, think of us. Promo code Colin Thompson for $20 off. The Eagles. Brian's an Eagles fan. Jack's an Eagles fan. Jack's an everything fan now. He's got a little bit of everything in his repertoire. Justin's a fan of multiple teams too. I think that's really normal now in the world we live in. Like our parents were fans of X, but now it's like, hey, I got a friend on this team, or hey, my fantasy quarterback every year played on this team, or I went to Temple and my quarterback, I like PJ Walker, so now I'm a Panthers fan. Go Panthers. Look at Jack's got the hat. I mean, Justin's got the hat on. There's too many J's in here. Okay, Eagles talk. Undefeated. Probably best team in football. I think that's safe to say. I'm going to go to Brian. Best team in football, question mark, and are they the best team? Are they, destined to go undefeated throughout the whole year?
Yeah, so I was thinking, well, first of all, I don't think they're going undefeated. We'll just get that out of the way right away. But that'd be cool, but I don't see that happening. Yeah, so I was sitting here watching the Bills and Packers. Was that Sunday night game? And Sunday night game. And sitting here watching that, and the first half, the Bills looked phenomenal. Obviously, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, that's a really good team. And I tweeted, Birds versus Bills Super Bowl is going to be epic. And it got one response, and it was Bills would kill them or something like that. Bills would smoke the Birds. And I was going to respond, and I clicked on the profile, and it didn't have a picture, hadn't tweeted in like 2 years. Like, it was one of those. So I let it go. But it got me thinking about how good the Eagles actually were. And in that Sunday night game, the Packers kind of outplayed the Bills in the second half of that game. So the Bills beat the Chiefs in Kansas City, which is obviously a huge win, and Kansas City might be that other team there. But the Eagles, you talk about the NFC. Sorry, Colin. The Eagles beat the Vikings, right? That's 6-1 right there. That's what people are talking about, those guys. Also beat the Cowboys, which, granted, Dak was not playing, but that's the other team in the NFC that people are talking about how much they love. Mm-hmm. So the Eagles have already beaten both those teams. The Bills have beaten the Chiefs. And then, that's probably about it. So I do think you got to say the Eagles are the best team in the NFL right now, if we're being honest. I think they have the best wins, and obviously they're still undefeated. So I still think Eagles-Bills Super Bowl, and I think anything can happen in that game. But, man, the Eagles look like a really complete team. They're taking the ball away. They're playing great. Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown some of those throws Hurts made last game were phenomenal. They look great. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yes, they do. They look great. They have a lower roster. Howie Roseman continues to be aggressive and make trades. Any trades from him today, Jack?
No, there have been no trades from the Philadelphia Eagles as the trade deadline passed a few minutes ago. The only one was Robert Quinn a few days ago.
What was the banter in Philly? We got to get one more piece. Who was that piece, Jack?
I think it was a lot of talk, if anything. The only thing I really heard was a running back, which I don't think was a need at all. It was just something a lot of people were – I saw obviously Kareem Hunt was one, Jamal Williams. There's a few names chat around, but they have a solid running back core already. There wasn't a need for one. It's just always Howie Roseman's always looking to upgrade anywhere. The other one was just seeing if they would trade Andre Dillard for draft capital at the trade deadline, but he had stayed put as well. So that was really it.
Those old linemen are like gold, man. You hold on to them; they're absolute just studs. They're really good ones, and Andre can play in the league. He's just behind probably the two best tackles combinations somewhat in the NFL. Okay, Justin, we're going to go to your Washington Commanders.
Manders. Apparently, a lot of people have been calling them the Manders, I saw recently. I think that's a Kevin Durant thing.
Bunch of dudes.
The Durs. I don't know what they're calling them now.
They don't really have a nickname. That's yeah.
The Durs.
That's what they put. That's what Tano Heineke said, I believe.
I like the Durs. I think the Durs should be the nickname.
It's better than the commies, yeah.
Yeah, it's better than the commies. I'm a fan of the team. A lot of my friends play on the team. I know some coaches on the team. So, that's a weird part about me on the show. I can't sit here and be like, yo, but I can't really give, not that my opinion would be negative, but I don't really give my opinions on football clubs because I have friends on every team. And it's not probably proper while I'm in the league. Okay, Justin, talk to me about Washington. Talk to me about your boy, Taylor Heineke.
So last Sunday's game, it was very hard for me because I'm an Indianapolis Colts fan. I have been my entire life, but I'm a Taylor Heineke fan. And I was watching the game with my dad, and he was so confused because I was cheering for both sides. And I was one of those. I was like a parent. I was like, I want Taylor to do well, but I want the Colts to do well too. So it was a very weird dynamic there. All Taylor Heineke does is win. He has 17 career starts and he's 9-8. He's like one of the few Washington, whatever you want to call him, quarterbacks that has a over 500 record as a starting quarterback. Every time he beats a team, he goes out and he buys a pair of Jordans in that colorway of the team. So he bought the green and yellow ones for the Packers. He just bought some sick Jordan 1s for beating the Colts. You can't help but root for Taylor Heineke. And I think I'm not alone in that feeling. I think a lot of people in the DC area are starting to gravitate towards Heineke magic here. So yeah, I'm excited to just keep enjoying the ride as long as it is.
You keep tabs about the Ravens, Shaq? On the Ravens, I should say. Or Justin. God, I'm really struggling with that today. Justin Ayers. Wow, Colin. Holy cow. It's because you guys are right below each other on here, and it's really throwing me off. I got it next week. We'll switch it up if we do this again. Justin, do you keep tabs on the Ravens?
Not a lot. It's a lot of Colts, a lot of Durs, a lot of Panthers. Okay. So it's not a lot of Ravens talk.
I like what they did. I like the Roquan Smith trade. I think he's a stud. I was with him in Chicago. Kid's a really good player. Perfect fit for Baltimore. Yeah, he'll do well there. It was. I'll think back. Last week I was upset that the media that's what we get paid to do. You got to sit up to the media and you got to take questions. Right? We all do it. It's part of the gig. But when the media let them know that Robert Quinn got traded and they're really close, did anybody see that when he was crying up there or trying to hold it together? I was just like, man, sometimes when you leave work in this business or you see that, you just need a mental shower. Like you just want to open your brain up and just shower it down because it's just pro sports are tough. That's why, again, we get paid money and that's part of it, but there's a personal aspect to it as much as we try to fight it. And it's a business, but until it ends up on your front doorstep, you're like, it's a business. It's like, man, it's a business and it really weighs on you. So I feel for him. I'm sure he is happy in Baltimore. I'm sure he could have been a part of that trade. He could not have been. I don't really know, but good for him, handling that professionally up on the podium. That's really hard to do. Okay. College football talk. We got some Penn State fans in the building. We're going to talk about the fight. We're going to talk about a couple of things here as we wrap things up, but everything is also brought to you by our friends over at Som Sleep. Get the best sleep in the world. Magnesium, natural products, helping you go to sleep, stay asleep, and get up and rise in the morning. Maybe Brian should take that if he has a glass of wine or two. You feel better. You'll rise to the occasion. I know I do when I do that kind of stuff. I'm not going to vouch for it, and it's definitely not medically cleared for that kind of things. I'm not going to speak for Som Sleep, but it helps. I enjoy it. It's just a great product. Again, use promo code Colin. Use promo code BATS for 10% off. Both of our promo codes will work. And, appreciate Som Sleep believing in us. An unbelievable product that I got to use here in the NFL that we're lucky to have working with us here and not for long media. Okay. Penn State football, Bri. Got to get your thoughts on Penn State football. Not a good stretch here the last couple of weeks.
Dude, it's just so disappointing because it's the same shit every year. Like, listen, I don't like to call for people's jobs, but I didn't expect Franklin to get that huge extension that he did last year. And I think he is a good coach. I think he's a good recruiter. I'm sure he's a good human being. And the teams are pretty good always. But when they play Michigan and Ohio State every year, which are the two teams they need to beat, right? It's just the same story 99% of those games, especially Ohio State. They come out, the games are always close, and in the second half, there's no adjustments, or they get a lead. Like in this, to me, in this game, they got that lead at 14-13 or whatever it was, and it looked like in the third quarter, they were trying to run the clock out and thought the defense was just going to keep stopping CJ Stroud in that offense. And it's just like, that ain't happening. You know, they're going to score. It's only a matter of time. They're going to score. The defense have been bailing them out the whole game to begin with because the offense was turning the ball over. But the kid from Ohio State, that the end, well, I forget that Tiamalo, or I forget how you say his name, but oh my goodness, what a monster that dude is. What a game he had. So hats off there. But man, Penn State, it just seems like it's the same old story. So I was texting my dad, and he's like, they're going to blow it. It's just how it works. And sure enough, you know, that's how it went. So I got it. To me, that's coaching, because they get dudes. They have a lot of good players, but and they're very close, but they just can't get over that last hump.
Again, I'm going to come with the people putting TV schedules together. What time was that game at, Brian?
That was a noon game, 11 Central. 11
Central. That's a huge game. Ohio State, Penn State. It should at least be in the afternoon, later in the afternoon into the night. And I'm sure people are sick of me bitching about time changes here, but God, I mean, come on. How can that even happen? Like, that's a big game. And we were still at work on Saturday. We were traveling, and I was like, man, I can't watch this game. I got to like peek out of the corner of my eye. We definitely would have tuned into that. I've been able to watch it much. And again, I just think it's Saturday. I get it needs to be a good noon game too, but put it in prime time. I digress. Huge fight between Michigan and Michigan State this week, JA. It's sad, right? Like, there's fights in football on the field. I've been a part of some fights. I've been a part of scuffles. I've been a part of maybe ones that cross the line. I've been a part of some that are nothing, right? It's just kind of how it goes. I've seen them. I've been a part of them. They usually get broken up. Somebody throws a punch. Something happens. We have helmets on. We have gear on. The scary thing for me was just the large number of one team compared to a couple of players on the other. The helmets being used as weapons. You got cleats on. You're on concrete. That's just not good. It's just getting now to the point where it's like hockey players back in the day, like, they didn't fight when they like went to the bar, right? They were like at the bar together, like opposite teams, and we're like cheers in, and like that's the old stories, right? Maybe a fight or two. But like, they never took that malicious play of how bad hockey was, like in the 70s and 80s, I'm talking about, where there was just fighting all the time, and it didn't carry over into the locker rooms. It ended. It's a self-police game. And football's a self-police game because you get to put your face on somebody, and you can fight all you want, but you're going to not play if you fight. And you know that. So you try to play within the lines and play within physicality. And then it kind of pours over into something else after the field because someone's talking smack. All these kids know each other. They all got recruited to probably both schools. They're in the same hallway, all these different excuses. But the bottom line is you cannot. And there needs to be a big person in the room. To me, it's the kids at Michigan State. I didn't even watch a lot of it because it made me kind of sick. But like, a big boy on that team at Michigan State needs to step in and be like, yo, whoa, this is not, we're not doing this. You know, like the Michigan kid, like, Cray, I don't know whose fault it is. Obviously, it wasn't a good sight for the Michigan State kids. I don't know much about it. I saw the videos, so I hate to give true opinion on it. But someone's got to step in and be the big adult there. The issue is you can't get in there if you're an adult because you're going to get hurt. You're going to get either stepped on or punched, or a helmet's going to hit you or something, and it's not good. So that was a real black eye, you know, to me, on just kind of that rivalry. And it's going to be brought up all the time now. And it's like, no, it's a healthy, good rivalry in college football, Michigan State. And it's just not good. I mean, that's kind of my take on it. I know it's not a hot take by any means. You know, there's going to be criminal investigations, going to be all this stuff, but it's a part of the game of football. And the problem is it's getting away from the football now. Fights are great. I think certain times a little altercation's healthy, but you know, something like this where you're not going to have police involved, not so good. Justin, what do you think?
There's a lot to this, like a lot more layers than I thought it would. The Michigan player, for him to just kind of walk in by himself in the middle of the Michigan State kind of line there, I thought that was odd. Not by any means blaming him for what happened. I thought the one tunnel thing was interesting, but then I realized that most of these older stadiums kind of have always just had one tunnel, and they've been, you know, games have been played there for like decades and decades, and there's hardly ever any fights. So can't really say, oh, why is there only one tunnel? It's like, well, it's been like this forever, and usually guys don't get like brutally beat up in them. I thought you're right. There should have been a little bit more self-policing going on from the Michigan State side. You watch all those videos and even like the above angle that like the ESPN camera looking down the tunnel had. This fight lasted like 20, 30 seconds, and you're watching some of these big offensive linemen just walk right past or even scurry off in the other direction, like, oh, I'm not doing this. I didn't like that. As far as the criminal stuff goes, I'm not sure how I feel about that because, I mean, yeah, it was a bad fight and the guys obviously got suspended, but like, I don't know what the outcome of a criminal investigation is going to be about this, nor would I probably even bring something like that. Just seemed like a football fight. So yeah, there's a lot of layers to it. Very bad situation. Yeah, it's interesting.
Brian, any fights, any bench clearing brawls in your day of baseball?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've talked about this.
Talked about on Breaking Bats. Can you tell us a quick story?
We have, yeah. So like you said, I've been a part of your typical ones, benches clear, pushing, shoving, or just a lot of words being said. Nothing really happens, right? Plenty of those. But there was one in particular when I was in high A, Daytona Beach, that was a legitimate brawl, was really bad. Police were about to come on the field. We ended up on ESPN for, as some of those shows are like Levitard's old show and some of those like talk shows about it. It was really bad. Basically, it started the day before and carried over the next day. It was Kids Day in the minor leagues, which is basically is like a 10 a.m. summer game where they just bring a bunch of kids from like the local summer camps and stuff to watch the game. They're pretty brutal because it's like SpongeBob playing nonstop and stuff. But it was like 5,000 kids there watching this game. And long story short, our manager, who was our third base coach, after it's bottom of ninth, 2 outs, I was on deck. They drilled our three hitter, who was the nicest human in the world, after people had already been getting hit throughout the game. And eventually our manager left his third base coaching spot and punched their pitching coach in the face at their dugout. So we had to sprint, and everything happened in front of their dugout, and it was just pure mayhem and melee. There's video out there. It was wild. And yeah, no, like legit people going to the hospital. It was no joke.
What was the worst thing that happened to you? I'm sure you threw a couple.
I came out unscathed, which was a miracle, because like I said, I was on deck. So I was, one of the closer ones to it. And my buddy, Garrett Boulware, who his younger brother was, Ben Boulware, who starred for Clemson on the football team when they won the national championship, linebacker. He was a catcher and he's a tough dude. So he got there first, man, and had a guy on the ground. Next thing you know, there were 7 guys on top of him. And he had like a cleat mark on his chest, literally like spike indents from people stomping on him, and was bruised up pretty bad. But I ended up going there and getting guys off of him. And somehow in that, I did not get hit. I don't know how, but I made it out of that without getting just
legendary. And Brian's a big old boy now. I'm sure they were going another direction to where Brian was. Keep your helmet on, right, Brian? Did you keep your helmet on?
No, I did not. But if I was a football player, absolutely would. The best part, the last thing I'll say about this is the guy who on my team who kind of originally started it was a tough dude from a rough area, just one of those guys you wouldn't want to mess with. And the guy who he originally drilled when he was pitching, he was trying to go after him, and the kid was literally sprinting away from him into the outfield. And you can just see in the video, like the whole pile moves because this dude is running away from the one pitcher on my team trying to get to him.
You could see it clear as day. I'm like, when's this guy going to square up and just fight him? And he never did. Never did. That's good stuff.
Unreal.
Justin sent it to the group, so we were watching it as you were explaining it.
The best part of that video is like the music they didn't turn off. There's just pop music blaring. It's like, turn the lights down now. And then there's just people. There's a guy like doing flailing arms, like the fat kid swinging. Just, it's the best.
It was bad.
Nothing better than Kids Day. Nothing better than Kids Day at the ballpark. All right. You can't beat it. You literally can't beat it. I'll say this, guys. I had Jonathan Heimbach on here earlier. Jaime, a buddy of mine, XFL legend, part of the old XFL, the old fights, the old craziness. He played in the original XFL. He coached in XFL 2.0, and then he's going to coach in XFL 3.0. And I had him on earlier, and we're talking about just how random things are with fights, and I digressed because I want to bring up the XFL. Justin is a fan of the league. Justin and I met because of the league. Justin had a podcast with Tampa Bay Vipers and asked me to come on, and kind of the rest is history. JA, I'm going to ask you, our resident XFL fan, super fan, and then we'll go to Jack. What are you looking forward to about the league this year there, Justin, next year?
I'm obviously looking forward to it coming back. I'm curious to see what The Rock does. I'm sure it's going to be electric running it. But my biggest gripe is they took our beloved Tampa Bay Vipers out of Tampa and put them in Vegas. The Vegas Vipers, like what? No, they're the Tampa Bay Vipers. And
they technically moved the team from Tampa to Orlando, changed the name, and then gave the Vegas team the Vipers.
Oh, damn.
Yes. And again, listen, when Jonathan Heimbach, I call him Jaime, will come out in a couple weeks. He dials in why it's really cool what they did. Obviously, Vegas, you can't beat that. If you're a fan, you're going to Vegas for the weekend. Oh, we'll catch an XFL game too. That's a no-brainer. ESPN, I think they're either part owners or they own the TV rights to the XFL. Orlando makes sense. There's a lot more going on in Tampa in the spring, tons, and everybody's getting pulled away from the game. So I hear you, Jay. You're going to be tuned in, though. I know you will be.
Oh, without a doubt. And the DC Defenders are back, which is cool. But like I was looking at the teams and the head coaches and the logos. Some of the logos are cooler than others. But I mean, Bob Stoops coming back to coach again, the Arlington Renegades. As an Oklahoma fan, I want it on the record, I'm not a Brent Venables fan until he starts winning. It just makes me sad because I love Bob Stoops so dearly. And then he just left Oklahoma, coached a bowl game, and now he's just XFL in it. Doesn't want to do the recruiting grind anymore. He's just hanging out, doing the Renegades.
Can we talk about how the DC has two DURS teams now? They got the Defenders and the Commanders. There's a bunch of DURS.
Would you look at that? They got the DURS and the DURS. I'll say this. Those Washington games are crazy. The famous beer snake game going out the back of the end zone. That was incredible. And the commissioner of the league finishing off the beer snake by chugging a beer and throwing a beer on the thing. That's really cool. So that's great. They have, awesome new cities. I pulled it up when I was talking to Jaime, but Vegas, San Antonio, Houston, Arlington, which is Dallas. They'll be in Orlando. No more New York. That's a tough crowd. They'll be in Seattle. There's going to have some really cool atmospheres. St. Louis is another really good one. So St. Louis and San Antonio are the ones that don't have NFL franchises. So that's going to be pretty big for those cities. And they were loud. We had to go silent cadence when we went to Seattle. They were that loud there, the 35,000. So if you can average 30,000 people, I mean, Brian's played minor league sports. Brian would love to have 30,000 people at AAA games, no?
Yeah, and very few places, get close to that. But that was going to be I'm just interested in both your opinions because Colin, you obviously did it, and now you're in the NFL. And Jay, you're as a fan. Do you think the XFL can really sustain being a league?
I'll answer first as a player, and then we'll go to Jay from a fan's perspective. I think the league would have been massive and was training to be absolutely massive if it wasn't due to the fact of COVID-19, right? The COVID really shut the league down. That was really what happened. We thought we were going to do the whole 2-week thing like everybody else, go home, quarantine, come back. And McMahon was like, I'm going to try to find and make this thing work. It was really ran first class. They bankrupted the league to recoup some of the funds, and they also paid us all the way up until our last day. They didn't have to do that. They could have stopped pay, right? So really impressive how first class they were. Players will enjoy the league better because the league ends in April. That's something that Jaime talked about too, is like the USFL, the league ended in July. So when it ends in April, it gives guys chances to try out for NFL teams, get on NFL teams before the draft, which is huge, or during the draft or after the draft, and then get the playbook a little bit and then go on summer break, have the playbook and pick it up. If you go to the USFL, you just enter right from the USFL right into training camp. You don't know the playbook fast enough. The schedule's crazy. It's super competitive. You just won't make the team. Very little guys made the NFL out of the USFL. So I think, one, you're going to get players that value the league because it worked. PJ Walker, there's a lot of guys that played. We have there's probably 10 of us that are actually playing consistently out of the XFL and the NFL. And then, I think that the coaches are really good. There's really good money and backing behind it. The travel's good for players. And Brian knows a guy that probably bust around the country, like minor leagues. Like AAF was kind of rough at times, but the XFL was not. The pay was less, than the AAF. But it's a great question. So from a player's perspective, it's fantastic. I loved it. And, really, I think it's going to be sustainable and will really kind of put the other leagues to bed because players will either sign multiple year deals in the XFL or they're just going to hang out in the XFL knowing that it's the best league. Justin, what say you as a fan?
I think there definitely is a space for this kind of league, this kind of spring football league, because football is a year-round thing now. People obviously there's a want and a need for it in that time of year after the Super Bowl. The thing with all these upstart leagues is that it's like every week one, it's massive, the ratings, people are excited, and then as time goes on, people just kind of drop off because the weather gets nicer, there's stuff to do. You're not necessarily sitting at home on a Saturday watching Arlington play San Antonio or whatever. Unless you're a massive fan like I was, which I watched all of Colin's XFL games. But I think for long-term success, they have to have a better job of getting stars to come play in the league. Give me Tim Tebow in this league. Give me Robert Griffin III. Give me Johnny Manziel. I know it was in the AAF, I think, at one point. But we need better quarterback play and bigger star power, I think, for people to consistently tune in, because that's what's going to help it. And also, I know the NFL and the XFL have partnered on I don't think it's like health and safety or something, but they need to be like an official like minor league farm system for that. I think that's all those things need to happen. And I think it'll be long-term sustained success.
Yeah, there's a lot to do with that. The NFL Europe was a hell of a model before where you were associated with different teams, but then does the organization pick the head coach? Like say the Steelers can pick between two teams, and they only could pick between those two teams. And I think that gets a little sloppy there, but I do agree, Justin. Any way you connect the NFL to it, the better. I think The Rock helps that. I think ESPN helps that. I think more polished brands like that help that. Vince McMahon was awesome. Everybody sees him as an XFL guy, but he took first-class care of us because the foundation was already there for the WWE and all the stuff he had for wrestling. So all the insurance, all the benefits, all that stuff kind of came to us too. And we had like a hotline for insurance, and we had like a lot of different things that were like big deal that a lot of people don't see in the outside world that Brian and I have to kind of figure out. Brian goes through it with stuff in Japan and then American teams when he's here next year or whatever that may be. There's more to it than just the play operationally. So no, I think the league will be a success. Justin and Brian, it's a great question. I think it's going to kill it. The cities are great. I could see expansion coming. I really could. If it gets to be a good year this year, they'll expand a team or two, and it goes from there. So as we wrap things up, guys, we're going to play a little game of Would You Rather. I got one question for you. Would you rather be one of these coaches getting fired in college football or the NFL, or would you rather be Bobby Bonilla, I always screw his name up, or Chris Bosh? We got breaking news out of the NBA world. We don't talk much NBA on here, but Chris Bosh. So a Bobby Bonilla type deal ends. Former Miami Heat standout Chris Bosh will be paid for the last time of his 120 twice monthly $434,000. The installments that started being paid November 15th, 2017, and are scheduled to end today, November 1st, 2022. Bosh last played in 2016. Again, 120 twice monthly $400,000 checks. Brian, we'll go to you. Would you rather be, we're going to pour some out for the head coach at Auburn, who's getting paid $15 million to leave, one fat check, I think it was like $8 million right away, or would you like this steady mailbox money of $400,000 every 2 weeks?
That's a great question. It's man, I think I'd like the installments of the 400 every 2 weeks, because I don't know. I feel like you're less likely to mess it up. I don't know. At least me personally, you get all that money at once. It's like, all right, in my head, I'd be like, let's figure this out right now. How are we going to, keep this going? Not like, let's go do stupid stuff. But I think it's easier, and you got that little cash flow that way. With that being said, I think Ed Orgeron was the one who said it. Old Coach O was like, they told him that they were going to fire him and pay his full buyout of like $17 million. He was like, which door do you want me to leave from and what time? So I get that too.
I'll tell you what, man, it is a heck of a business, college football and NFL football right now. So yeah, long story short, I'm going to go to Justin here though, before we wrap things up. Someone is spamming us through our StreamYard and I'm getting distracted. J.A., what are your thoughts? Would you rather get that big chunk of money up front, or would you want the $400,000 every 2 weeks for the next 200 and something weeks, 120 weeks?
I'm a big fan of Shark Tank, and I love Mr. Wonderful. And on there, he's a big fan of cash flow. He likes royalties. He likes checks coming in. So I would take the deferred payments. Give me that contract where I'm getting like a couple $100,000 a month until I'm in my mid 50s or 60s. I think that's the safer play because you're right. You get the big lump sum. It's how many cars can I buy? How many houses can I have? And then, you're at the end of it and you're like, crap. All right, that's it. So yes, I would like cash flow.
Okay, cash flow. I'm going to go with the lump sum money. Give it to Wealth Advisory Services and let them handle it from there. I think that's about. I think I would do. But all really good answers. The cash flow is fantastic, though. I mean, that is mailbox money to a T. No, I appreciate you guys coming on today. This was fun as always. Breaking Bats, guys. If you're a baseball fan, you got to be checking out Breaking Bats with Brian O'Grady and Justin Ayers. They do a fantastic job. Appreciate you boys coming on, Bri. Justin, had a blast.
It's been fun, dude.
Thanks for having me, man. Love it.
That does it. Hello for another episode of the Colin Thompson Show. I've been talking for the last 2 hours here, so I am running on fumes. I don't know how these guys do it for radio, but again, thank you to our sponsors: Som Sleep, promo code Colin, and Bats. GEEK, promo code Colin Thompson. Wealth Advisory Services, wealthadvisoryservices.com. FudgeKitchens.com, shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country. I am ready for some Amiche. I am starving. The best Italian food in Charlotte. Again, thanks to Brian and Justin from Breaking Bats. Thanks to Jack, as always. I'm Colin Thompson. Appreciate you guys tuning in.